My child, stop. Yes, you stop, because this is your final test. Stop for a moment. Before you move to the next video, before another thought steals your attention, before another distraction pulls you away, stay here. Because there are moments in life that quietly divide your story into two chapters. The person you used to be and the person you are becoming. Perhaps this is one of those moments. You've prayed. You've waited. You've cried in silence. You've wondered why doors remained closed while others seemed to walk effortlessly into blessings you could only dream about. You kept asking, God, how much longer? If those words have ever lived inside your heart, then listen carefully. Not because this message promises instant riches, not because it guarantees an easy tomorrow, but because your faith may be standing at one of its greatest crossroads. This may be your final test before the next season begins. Every person who walks closely with God eventually faces a moment when nothing around them seems to make sense. The promise feels delayed. The answers seem silent. The road becomes longer than expected. The heart grows tired. Yet heaven remains at work, even when human eyes cannot see it. The greatest breakthroughs in Scripture never arrived before a season of testing. The night always came before the sunrise. The wilderness came before the promised land. The cross came before the resurrection. God has never abandoned His children in the waiting. He prepares them there. Maybe you have been wondering why your journey has felt unusually difficult. Why opportunities disappeared just when they seemed close. Why relationships changed. Why plans failed. Why the road became lonely. What if those delays were not evidence that God had forgotten you? What if they were evidence that He was preparing you for something your current strength could not yet carry? Think about it. Gold is refined by fire. Diamonds are formed under pressure. Seeds grow in darkness before they ever reach the light. God often develops His greatest work where no one else can see it. Perhaps that has been your story all along. You thought you were buried, but heaven was planting you. You thought you were being overlooked, but God was building roots that storms could never destroy. You thought the silence meant no. Perhaps it simply meant not yet. Today I want you to hear this with your whole heart. Your greatest battle may not be against circumstances. It may not be against lack. It may not even be against the people who misunderstood you. Your greatest battle is deciding whether you will trust God one more time. Because faith always reaches its highest point when feelings disappear. Anyone can believe when everything is going well. But trusting God when answers are hidden, that is where true faith is born. So ask yourself honestly, will fear write the next chapter of your story? Or will faith? This is the question standing before you today. This is your final test. Stay with me, because what we're about to discover could completely change the way you see every delay, every disappointment, and every unanswered prayer you've carried until now. Before we go any further, I want you to remember something that many people forget when life becomes difficult. A test is never given to destroy you. A test reveals what has been growing inside you all along. God already knows the strength He placed within your heart. The test is not for His knowledge. It is for your transformation. There are moments when heaven seems silent. Prayers appear to rise into the sky without an answer. Days become weeks. Weeks become months. Months become years. In those moments, the enemy whispers, "Nothing is changing." But faith quietly answers, "God is still working." Never confuse God's silence with His absence. The greatest works of God often begin where human eyes see nothing at all. While you were wondering why nothing seemed to move, God was moving pieces you could never reach. While you were waiting, He was protecting you from doors that would have led to disappointment. While you felt forgotten, He was writing a story greater than anything you could have planned yourself. Sometimes the blessing must wait because your character is still being strengthened. Sometimes the answer must wait because the timing is still unfolding. Sometimes the door remains closed, not because God is withholding good from you, but because He is keeping something greater safe until the right moment. Think about the seasons you've already survived. the nights you thought would never end, the tears no one ever saw, the prayers you whispered when no one else was listening. Every one of those moments mattered. Not a single tear escaped God's attention. Not a single prayer disappeared into emptiness. Not a single act of faith went unnoticed. Scripture reminds us that God is close to the brokenhearted and faithful to those who continue trusting Him even when the road is hard. That means your story is not being ignored. It is being written with purpose. Now listen carefully. This may be the most important truth you'll hear today. Your final test is not about proving that you are perfect. It is about choosing faith when fear offers you 1,000 reasons to quit. Fear says, you'll never recover. Faith says, God is my strength. Fear says, it's too late. Faith says, nothing is impossible with God. Fear says, you've failed too many times. Faith says, His mercy is new every morning. Which voice will shape your future? Every decision you make today is planting seeds for tomorrow. Choose hope. Choose courage. Choose obedience. Choose to believe that the author of your story has not walked away from the pages that are still being written. Perhaps you've been carrying disappointment for so long that it has started to feel normal. Perhaps you've become accustomed to expecting less because hoping again feels risky. But God never asked His children to place their confidence in circumstances. He asked them to place their confidence in Him. That changes everything. Because circumstances rise and fall. People come and go. Opportunities appear and disappear. But the faithfulness of God does not change. If He carried you through yesterday, He will carry you through tomorrow. If He opened doors before, He can open them again. If He made a way in the wilderness for others, He can make a way for you. So don't allow temporary delays to convince you that your purpose has disappeared. Don't mistake preparation for rejection. Don't mistake waiting for abandonment. Your story is still unfolding. Your purpose is still alive. Your future is still in God's hands. And perhaps, the very challenge standing before you today is not the end of your journey. It is the doorway into the next chapter God has been preparing all along. Stay with me, because in the next few moments, we're going to uncover the one decision that separates those who surrender to fear from those who walk boldly into the future God has prepared for them. Before we continue, I have one small favor to ask. If this message is speaking to your heart, if it is encouraging you to trust God a little more today, please take a moment to leave a comment with the words, "Lord, I trust your timing." Your comment may become the encouragement someone else needs to keep believing. And if you know someone who has been carrying heavy burdens, share this message with them. You never know how God may use a simple act of kindness to strengthen another heart. Now, let's continue. There comes a moment in every believer's journey when the road becomes so quiet that faith is the only voice left. No applause, no recognition, no clear answers, only a choice. Will you keep walking even when you cannot yet see the destination? This is where many people stop, not because God abandoned them, but because they mistook the silence for rejection. My beloved friend, listen carefully. God has never wasted a season of waiting. Every delay carries a purpose. Every closed door hides a greater direction. Every unanswered prayer is shaping a stronger heart. Perhaps you have been asking, "Lord, why did this happen to me?" Maybe you watched opportunities disappear. Maybe people you trusted walked away. Maybe dreams that once filled your heart slowly faded under the weight of disappointment. Yet through every painful chapter, God remained faithful. Even when you could not feel His presence, He was already preparing your tomorrow. Sometimes He removes people before they can damage your future. Sometimes He closes doors because they lead to places where your purpose cannot grow. Sometimes He asks you to wait because the blessing He has prepared requires a stronger version of you. Remember this truth. God is far more interested in preparing the person than simply providing the blessing. Because blessings without wisdom become burdens. Success without character becomes pride. Abundance without humility becomes destruction. That is why heaven works first within your heart before changing what surrounds you. Every challenge has been teaching you something. Patience, wisdom, discernment, compassion, courage. These are treasures that no amount of money can buy. Perhaps that difficult season was not stealing from you. Perhaps it was adding something eternal to your life. Think back over everything you have survived. The nights you cried yourself to sleep. The mornings you forced yourself to smile. The moments you kept believing when every circumstance suggested giving up. Those were not wasted moments. Those were sacred moments. Each one was quietly strengthening your faith. Each one was preparing you for responsibilities you could not yet imagine. Now the question is no longer, why has this happened? The question is, what kind of person have I become because of it? Because your greatest victory is not simply reaching your destination. Your greatest victory is becoming the person God created you to be along the journey. This is the heart of your final test. Not whether life has been easy, not whether every prayer has already been answered, but whether you will continue trusting God even when the next step requires faith instead of certainty. Keep your eyes on Him. Keep your heart steady. The chapter you are living today is not the end of your story. It is preparing you for a testimony that will remind others that God's faithfulness never fails. There is something your heart needs to hear before we go any further. The greatest breakthrough in your life may begin with one quiet decision. The decision to stop looking at your circumstances and start looking at the God who holds your future. When Peter stepped out onto the water, the storm did not disappear. The wind still blew. The waves still crashed. Yet for a moment, the impossible became possible because his eyes were fixed on the one who called him. The same principle is true today. Fear grows when your attention stays on the storm. Faith grows when your attention stays on God. So ask yourself honestly, where has your focus been? Have you been measuring your future by yesterday's disappointments? Have you allowed past failures to convince you that tomorrow cannot be different? My friend, your past is a chapter. It is not the title of your life. God is not limited by what has happened behind you. He is already working in places you cannot yet see. Even now, conversations are taking place that you know nothing about. Doors are being prepared that you have never knocked on. Opportunities are forming beyond your vision. Not because of your perfection, but because of God's faithfulness. Sometimes heaven is working most powerfully while everything appears completely still. A seed makes no sound while it grows beneath the soil. Yet one day it breaks through the ground with life that no one expected. Perhaps your life has felt buried, but buried seeds are not forgotten seeds. They are growing. Don't rush the process. Don't compare your journey with someone else's timeline. God has written a unique story for every person. What He is preparing for you does not need another person's approval. In the same way, keep moving with me. Do not allow yesterday's disappointment to become tomorrow's limitation. Lift your eyes. The horizon is changing. The season is changing. And you are changing. The fearful heart that once questioned every step is becoming a peaceful heart that trusts my leading. That transformation is beautiful in my eyes. Do not despise your journey. Honor it. Because one day you will tell others, if God had not led me down that difficult road, I would never have discovered how faithful He truly is. Your testimony is being written one faithful step at a time. Soon, very soon, the path that seemed uncertain will become the testimony that strengthens countless other hearts. Stay close to me, my beloved, because the next part of this journey will reveal the miracle you have been praying for, and you will discover that I have been preparing it all along.